Shalom Aleichem, everyone. Hope everyone had a wonderful, wonderful week. It is Parshas Vayakhel. I just looked at a shir, and I've been thinking about this topic a lot as we teach Shana Aleph boys, Shana Bet boys. So one of the things that people are always struggling with and confronting is, on the one hand, the Torah and Halacha has a real rigidity, gives us a real structure in life, which on the one hand is wonderful. The idea of 3 minyanim a day, Kviyasitim LaTorah, Vegispo Yomam, Valayla, learning in the morning, learning at night, 3 minyanim a day, the various mitzvos that we have, the chagim, etc. The structure is absolutely critical. On the other hand, sometimes as a young man will say, but it's too much structure, it's too overwhelming. I'm reading Chazal's prayer book and not my own tefillos, and that's a real challenge. On the other hand, of course, we always have room for personal expression, for expanding, yes, inserting our own tefillos, for learning the things that we like to learn, for injecting our own kavanos into our performance of mitzvahs. And there's this constant, what I would call yin-yang, between the struggle of the daily rigors of what is mandated in halach and avodas Hashem, and then, of course, the room for our own creativity within that context. And in that light, I am reminded of a very striking thought on this week's parasha, Parshas Vayakhel. At the end of the parasha, Perek Lamed Ches, Pasuk Ches, the Torah tells us, Vayases Kior Nechoshes, they made the Kior, and they make the kior, the basin, to wash, for the Kohanim to wash in Beis Hamikdash, and the Mishkan, be'maros hatzovos. And they use these maros hatzovos, these, strange word, maros, mirrors, tzovos representing the maros of the legions, some kind of strange mirrors. And the Mefarshim try and figure out what are these maros hatzovos, and I want to share two pshatim. And the two pshatim are so radically different that they are striking. Rashi first. Rashi says, what are the maros hatzovos? Benos Yisrael hayu biyadan maros, sheroos behen kashem miskashtos, ve'asf otan lo ikfu milahavi lenidbas hamishkan. So the women had mirrors. Benos Yisrael had mirrors that they used to beautify themselves, to perfume themselves, to adorn themselves when they put on their makeup. And they wanted to donate these for the Binyan HaMishkan, and Moshe says, nothing doing. This is not appropriate. They are vehicles of the Yetzer Hara, these mirrors are, and therefore have no place in the Beis HaMikdash. Amar lo HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Hashem says to Moshe, Kaber, receive these gifts. Ki elu chavivin alai min hakol. These are actually more special to me than anything else. She'al yedehem ha'emidu nashim tzovos rabos b'Mitzrayim. As a result of these mirrors, so the women of the Jewish people, they created legions of people in Mitzrayim. What happened? Because the men were hard at work, doing the avodas parech of Paro in Mitzrayim, and they'd get home after a hard day's work, yegeim, exhausted. And the women would go ahead and give them food, ma'achal mishteh, and then notlos hamoros, and they would take the mirrors, and they would Kol achas roa atzma im ba'ala. She would take the mirror in a selfie with her husband, selfie, look at us, and umeshadlaso b'dvarim, and tease her husband into wanting to be with her. She would say, Ani no mimcha, I'm more attractive than you are. Mitoch kach mevios laba'alei lidei taiva. It would create desire in their husbands. V'niz kakos lahem. And they would be with their wives, and they would produce another generation of children, of Jewish children. It would produce the next generation of the Jewish people that would leave Mitzrayim. So the men had given up. They were exhausted. They had given up hope. The women used these mirrors as instruments to be with their husbands, and Hashem says, Chavivin alai min hakol. That is Rashi's interpretation. There's an Ibn Ezra. Ibn Ezra says the exact opposite. The women understood that mirrors were instruments of vanity, and they didn't want to be focused on their own beauty, on their own looks, and therefore donated their mirrors to the Beis HaMikdash, to the Mishkan, and that's the Maros Hatzovos, the legions of women who were Moser Nefesh, giving up of their vanity, their gashmias, their caring about their own physicality, materialism. That's what they gave up, and that was Chavivim min hakol. Two radically different interpretations. On the one hand, a value, says the Ibn Ezra, of asceticism, of give up from the physical world. On the other hand, Rashi brings to use physicality in service of spirituality. Two different pshatim. I'm not in a position to say which one is more correct, but I am willing to suggest that there is very great room within Avodas Hashem for different manifestations that speak to the unique neshamas of a person. Some people, and it's easier, to be honest, it's much easier to engage in spirituality through a Suda Shabbos and through a nice Farbrengen, a Tish, and through these activities, which involve food, which involve drink, to try and elevate, connect to Hashem. But some people actually connect to Hashem through withdrawal. And by the day-to-day and by limiting themselves in physicality, that's how they can go ahead and become closer. There's an inverse relationship between physicality. If physicality goes up, spirituality perhaps goes down. When I mute physicality, then my spirituality can go up. And they're both valid pshatim with a lot of nafkamis la'alacha. How do we view the mitzvah kadoshim tiyu? How do we view the korban chatas that is brought by the nazir? Is it good to eschew from physical pleasure, or is that actually a wrong thing to do? There's room within the rigors of halacha, the day-to-day grind, the strictures of halacha, for a lot of human creativity in Avodas Hashem. And perhaps that's a fundamental and core message that is hinted to in these Maros Hatzovos, something that we should think about as we navigate the day-to-day grind, but also identify what's going to speak most to our neshama, invest our daily avoda with that, and Yirtzeh Hashem, continue to grow closer to Hashem.